Welcome to The Disturbance, hosted by Dave DeVaugh.
Good afternoon, North America, and welcome to the Daily Disturbance. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, and this is episode number 3 of The Big Show. I am Dave DeVaugh, and thank you so much for tuning in to the show. Now, since this is just the third show, you probably don't know the format. It's a 10 to 15 minute show, and we usually cover, one or two topics, and that's it. On today's show, we're going to be covering Tom Brady and how I think Tom Brady is actually experiencing in-game PSD. Like, did you see what happened to Tom Brady with his 4 fingers last Thursday night? So we're going to cover that. But before we get into that, I thought we should pay homage to the performance that Justin Herbert, the young quarterback who was drafted right after Tua went to Miami, to the Los Angeles Chargers with the 6th overall draft pick in last year's National Football League draft. The young quarterback who sort of flew under the radar in those unbelievably bright and wide variety of different color uniforms of the Oregon Ducks. Now, Justin Herbert has been a surprise to a lot of people in the National Football League so far this year. I'm wrong about a lot of things, and I'm also right about a lot of things. And this was one of the things 5 weeks into the National Football League season I have been correct about. I have been saying for 4 weeks now, play Justin Herbert, let him figure it out. He has what it's going to take to be one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. It's not Justin Herbert's fault that the Chargers can't seem to kick a field goal to win a game. It's like all of the bad luck the Chargers had with field goals in San Diego just went straight up the 405 freeway to Los Angeles and has carried over into this team's move to LA. The Chargers last night on Monday Night Football, led by Justin Herbert, who threw 4 touchdowns, and more importantly than his 4 touchdown passes in the game was the fact that Justin Herbert did not throw a single completion to the New Orleans Saints. Not a single pass was completed to the New Orleans Saints by Justin Herbert, which is a big thing for a quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback that's still figuring out the NFL. Look, the speed of the NFL does not appear to be a huge issue for Justin Herbert in week 5 of the National Football League season. It's not like he was up against the Washington football team. It's not like he was playing the Detroit Lions. He was playing a team that really has one of the best defensive lines in football. And not only do they have one of the best defensive lines in football in New Orleans, they actually delivered and applied a lot of pressure. Now, Herbert rolled out, and he kept his eyes down the field, which is something that he really does well. He's a prototypical sort of drop back quarterback that's mobile at this stage of his career. And more importantly than that part of it, his arm is huge. He can throw passes on the run, pretty much unlike anybody of his size. He's a different kind of quarterback than a Patrick Mahomes. So very impressed with how Justin Herbert has played to this point. Look, if the Chargers could just kick a field goal, this season would be completely different for them. To put Justin Herbert's start to his National Football League career in perspective, after the game on Monday Night Football, Drew Brees went out of his way to make sure he took not 1, not 2, but 3 pictures with Justin Herbert. I mean, is Drew Brees already planning his 401k? Is he going to drop in some Justin Herbert pictures so he can make some money off of them on eBay someday? Like, what was Drew Brees doing? Anyways, so not only has he played Drew Brees well, he's played Tom Brady well, and he's played Patrick Mahomes well. In fact, the Chargers were leading in all three of those games in the second half, and in typical Los Angeles Charger fashion, they found a way to lose. All right, so moving on to good old Tom Brady. Now, we all know that Tom Brady is the GOAT. Now, realistically, you should be aware of the following. You should be aware of the following, is that Tom Brady is basically the 16th ranked quarterback in the National Football League today. If you go back and you look at the 2019 stats of Tom Brady, he was actually even worse than he is right now. He's completing a higher percentage of passes right now. His overall quarterback rating is not terrible. He's running at 96. But when guys like Russell Wilson have a rating of almost 130, and Aaron Rodgers at this stage of Aaron Rodgers' career, where he's at the top of the mountain and he's starting to look down on the backside of career mountain, that's where Aaron Rodgers is, and he's having a tremendous year. And so the big difference between Russell and Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and to some degree Derek Carr is that they all have fairly strong offensive lines. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on the other hand, while all of the fantasy football people out there read all those publications and magazines and internet sites, and you trolled which offensive line is best for the running game and for the passing game, and Tampa regularly showed up in the top 5, the reality of this situation is when Tom Brady now drops back to pass, he's got 1.5 Mississippi to actually throw the ball. 1.5 Mississippi to throw the ball. So if you're Tom Brady, you are absolutely experiencing in-game PSD. You can see the gunfire. You can see the mortars. You can see the tanks coming at you in real time, and you've got very little time to do anything with this reconstructed offensive line. Look, there's been some injuries. There was a COVID issue, and some other things have happened to this Tampa Bay offensive line, which on paper during the offseason looked really well. In reality, they're sort of in the middle of the road, and they're dealing with a quarterback that isn't as young as he used to be, which means it takes a little bit longer to process things. That is the reality of what Tom Brady is dealing with. Look, I'm not saying he doesn't understand the game. I'm not saying he can't actually take a look at a defense and figure out where the weakness is. I'm just saying that all those things in real time are taking him a little longer. And so he's sort of overcompensating at this point by throwing the ball extraordinarily hard. I think if we were able to put an actual speedometer on how fast Tom Brady, a radar gun on how fast Tom Brady threw the ball in Thursday night's football game, we would find out that he'd be in the top 3 of all the National Football League quarterbacks this past week. That is how hard Tom Brady was throwing the ball. But he was airmailing a lot of the passes. He was missing wide receivers by 10 to 15 yards. That is not the Tom Brady we know. And the reason for that is he's shaken up a little bit mentally with what's happening with this team. Look, they'll figure it out. They've got a weak backside of their National Football League schedule. Their last 3 games, I think they play, last 3 or 4 games, they play like the Falcons and the Lions and some other weak football team as well. So if they can just get to the last 3 games of the season at 500 or a little bit better, they'll certainly make the playoffs. But Tom Brady is not in any way getting the kind of time that he realistically needs at this point to actually take this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team beyond a playoff appearance in this National Football League season. All right, last thing on this, we all saw the 4 fingers. We all saw the 4 fingers thing being held up. Look, when you come back from the war, or if you get a concussion, or if you got in a car accident, or if anything like that ever happened to you, and I hope it doesn't, but if those things ever happen to you, you need the support of your family, you need the support of your community, you need the support of the people around you. Look, if Tom Brady is suffering the way he's obviously suffering as games go on with this Tampa Bay offensive line, it is up to Bruce Arians, the head coach of that football team, the offensive coordinator, and other people around Tom Brady to actually help him out. Look, you're going to need to figure out how to devise certain plays to actually keep those defensive lines at bay so that Tom Brady will get enough time to do the kind of things he needs to do, and he'll feel a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Look, what kills quarterbacks at the end of the day, what ruins a quarterback, what turns a quarterback into retirement is always a bad offensive line. Historically, you can just look down the line of all the great quarterbacks and how they went to another team after their initial run was over with the team where they found a lot of success at, Joe Namath. And you can see that the offensive line is always the issue. Bruce Arians, you and that Tampa Bay Buccaneer organization owe it to Tom Brady to figure out how to get more and better offensive linemen in place. I don't know where you're going to find them on the prairie at this point, but you've got to hunt down some more offensive line and scheme some different offensive plays in order to make things run smoother for Tom Brady as you go. It's that simple. It is that simple. The offense as it stands today needs to be adjusted fairly significantly. And what that basically means is that Bruce Arians and that coaching staff are going to have to forego their early bird special at least twice a week. At least twice a week in order to devise ways to get Tom Brady more protection. All right. So that is it for episode number 3 of the Daily Disturbance. Please go ahead and subscribe to the show if you haven't already done so. For the Daily Disturbance, as always, I am Dave DeBaugh. Do check out our Big Sports website at mighty.rip and have yourself a tremendous rest of your sports day.